Welcome to the Patriot Barbie podcast. This show is made possible by Spreely Media. Download the Freedom Hub app today and join the free speech movement. I want to thank the people and the companies that keep my show going. All my sponsors can be found on patriotbarbie.com on my shop page. Century H2O, water systems for your home that provide clean, toxic-free, fluoride-free, and pharmaceutical-free drinking water for your family and pets for under $300. Dylan's Restaurants has been a proud podcast partner for years, and the owner is my personal friend. With 4 locations throughout Arizona, you'll always find one to dine at and love, especially the zoo. Well, especially the ranch. Well, maybe the one floating on Lake Pleasant. Dang it, they're all good. Support your freedom-loving businesses, and please check out Dylan's Restaurants. Small business owners, claim your employee retention tax credit for 2020 and 21 with an accountant you can trust. If you don't know what this is, you could be missing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars. Go to patriotbarbie.com and click on my partners page to read up. My Freedom Cart, a conservative-owned, made-in-America, toxic-free company that lets you shop online and delivers everything to your front door. Clean products, protein, snacks, hair care, makeup, toiletries. Dude, ditch Amazon, keep the perks, and support a pro-life and pro-freedom company. myfreedomcart.com. My Beautiful Smile is brought to you by Dr. Daniel Slyke. His dental team is passionate, detailed, gentle, and clearly very talented. My entire smile has been restored to stunning, and I owe it all to him. He's right here in Scottsdale, and consults are free. Go to patriotbarbie.com, look him up, and schedule your free consultation. You guys, once again, you can find all my partners, my makeup line, my Patriot wine, my merch company, and the Freedom Cart at patriotbarbie.com under the shop page. Now, are you ready to get started? Let's go. Welcome to the Patriot Barbie podcast. I'm your host, Lindsey Graham, author and conservative activist. I love Jesus. I love America. I'm a proud wife, mom of 3, and I'm having bold and witty conversations with America's patriots, the ones that cancel culture desperately want to blacklist. Trust me, I've been there. In 2020, I defied government lockdowns in Oregon, reopened my salon, and became an icon of freedom. I've been targeted by government and raging liberals every day since, and I refuse to back down. Patriots, I'm here to tell you, your values are worth fighting for. The Patriot Barbie podcast starts now. Welcome to the Patriot Barbie podcast. I'm just kidding.
She's messing with us.
I told them I was going to make it awkward. I made it awkward. They're like, wait, that's not direction. Oh my gosh. So I have a really fun episode today. I've got the Mom Army ladies here with me. Woo!
Yep.
So I want you guys to go around the circle and tell everyone your name, where they can find you on socials, and then, like, do you have a real full-time job? Or what do you do when you're not saving, like, women and girls all over America? So start over here.
I'm Susie Freeman, and you can find me on Instagram at Susie Freeman, SUZIFREEMAN. And my real job is I have the Fearless Next Gen Warriors, so I work with awareness around youth suicide prevention, recognition, empowering our youth with values, confidence, and the such.
She's an activism on all counts. My real job is I'm an activist, and my hobby is that I'm an activist.
And in my spare
In my free time, I'm an activist.
Okay. Real job. I also work with companies, bringing good culture into their leadership. So I do that as well and teach suicide prevention within companies.
Okay, good. Now we're satisfied. My cancel culture.
And I have to go after that?
Do you do activism for a living?
No.
If you don't, okay. Do you identify as doing activism?
I do. Hugely. So my name is Jess Arburn. You can find me on my handle on Instagram, and this is my activism handle, is Be The Change. I'm a mom of 3. And I'm also the national director for Mom Army, which is part of my activism.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have a real job, though. And my real job, other than being a mom, is I'm an interior designer. So you can find me Jessica Lee Design. I am on Instagram as well. A little plug for myself.
That's right.
Yeah.
Shameless plug. And
Shameless
if you see
plug.
any pictures that are crooked behind us, will you please comment and tag her? Because she's right before the episode, she's like, Jesus is crooked. Well, no, now it's crooked. No, now it's crooked. Fix it all. Oh my God. Activism with the pictures.
We got you.
I'm Seek Smith. I am the founder and the general for the Mom Army. That is my full-time job. And activism doesn't pay, we just found out.
That's right. It's a free job.
No.
Feel free to Venmo me any amount whatsoever.
Yeah. But my life prior to this, I was a event planner, PR, marketing, branding. So I took all of those skills and transferred it here to do all the work here with protecting children.
Yeah. So Seek is like the brain behind Mom Army. So you get to be the one to tell us what was the initial concept? What's the motivation? What's the goal? Where do you see Mom Army going?
Well, I mean, I'll go back. 13, 14 years ago, I got involved with the issue of child sex trafficking. Dove right in right away with all the stuff, the deep dives, the research, protests, Save the Children protests in Hollywood, gala fundraisers, campaigns, sitting on panels, discussions, all the things, anything to bring more awareness to the issue. And it has only gotten worse since I started, my activism in fighting child sex trafficking. But then fast forward to, we're in 2023, but fast forward to last year, early in 2022, I was starting to feel the attacks coming at our children. It was feeling overwhelming. It was relentless. It was coming at us from every institution, the education system, media, big tech, all of it. And I said to my husband, I'm like, there's a war on our children. Literally, there's a war on our children. And from there, it was really gathering everybody and saying, we need to be more unified. We need to come together. We need to fight this as a unified voice. So I started reaching out to everybody. I reached out to you. And initially we started off as Million Outraged Moms because I was like, I'm freaking outraged. Yeah. This is ridiculous. We got to do something. We can't just sit here and do nothing. Called Landon, I called Katie. I was just calling everybody that I admired and the work that they've been doing. And we launched on August 8th as Million Outraged Moms on Instagram. And it started off as an Instagram page. But right off the bat, I didn't want it to be another keyboard warrior group. I didn't want to just be complaining online. I really wanted us to be like boots on the ground, really fighting this, being as effective as we can. And then 5 months later, here we are, with a team. I have incredible women on the team, 2 of them sitting here, that is helping build and grow Mom Army. We have an advisory council. We have 25 chapters forming across the country. So cool.
Well, I love when you say chapters because there are plenty, and you guys know this, probably you get DMs on your Instagram all the time when you're an activist. Everyone's putting it on your plate. Not that that's a bad thing. Like, hey, expose this. And it's like, I would love to. And then what are you going to do after I do, right? So what's your activism? And again, it's like activism is a hobby. And so a lot of people don't have time for it. But the Mom Army is more boots on the ground, which I love. It's like, if anything is going to empower other moms to stand up and dads in their own district, in their own communities, it's like an event that they can be at where they know there's going to be like-minded people, right? I've never gone ever and spoken at a school board meeting until the cat outfit. I went from I don't speak to hey, Fox News. I speak at board meetings. I'm Alex Stein, trapped in a woman's body. But it's like, I did that because people asked me to. People were like, let's go. And okay, I have support. All right, I'll do it. Yeah. But this last school board I went to was in Peoria. And there was plenty of people in the crowd that I did know supported me, but it was different. I was like, I wasn't called here. I wasn't invited to be here. I chose to be there. But there's power in numbers, and it's women. It's already hard enough to stand up for what's right because the left will say, you're transphobic or you're homophobic,
you're hateful,
or you're racist.
You're violent.
Yes, divisive.
We got all of it already.
Yeah. So it's like, all right, we already all know how it goes. We can do it. We got to get other completely normal, non-active parents to come do it. So the Mom Army is like, we're not just memes. We, you guys went and protested Balenciaga. Did you guys go to that?
We coordinated that actually. So when that news was breaking right after Thanksgiving, a lot of us were just like, what? We knew, being in this work, that this stuff exists in the fashion world, in Hollywood and all of that stuff. But what I call the normies aren't, they're busy with their lives.
I'm a normie.
Yeah. I'm kind of a normie. You're a normie? I'm not a normie.
I am far from normie.
She'll say something, I'm like, what? That's a thing?
Are we labeling ourselves now?
She's been getting the crash course on all this stuff.
Actually.
It's
What stuff?
And all
nothing.
Stuff. And I'm a mom of 5. Basically, let's just say, as Jess says, I woke up through COVID. I'm still being woke up. I'm like, oh my God, what?
She's like, what's happening?
It's like,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Oh
so
my
she's
gosh.
just coming into this.
She's like, Disney what? Netflix what?
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah,
like, this
that's-
can't be true.
It's actually kind of horrifying. I haven't even
It
done.
is.
You guys would be so like disappointed. I have not done a deep dive because I'm like,
I'm
it's a lot.
terrified too.
No,
It's
it's a lot. And,
Yeah.
and the Balenciaga was kind of like what our friend Simon calls the Overton window. All of a sudden, people are paying attention. They're like, wait, what's happening? And so...
It had to be that blatant. It
Yeah, it
literally
was
had
so
to be little
blatant.
kids posing in black leather like sex toys. I mean, come on.
I mean, they're holding a teddy bear that has BDSM. And so Ginny, who's one of our Phoenix chapter leaders, she messaged me. She goes, we need to protest this. I'm like, yeah, Ginny, what's one protest going to do? So that was on Sunday. Right after.
And it was on Sunday. On Monday morning,
Yeah.
we had 2,000 subscribers.
And me, who was like, we could do anything, I was like, I knocked her down right away. I was like, what's one protest going to do? And then she goes, well, I'll go stand there by myself with a sign by myself. I was like, I know you would. You absolutely would.
Yeah.
And then it dawned on me. I was like, wait a minute. We've been training our
have a
chapter
connection.
This
leaders.
is what the mom army is supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I messaged our Telegram with our 25 chapter leaders. I'm like, hey, guys, if we do a Balenciaga protest, would you host one in your city? 16 cities right away was like, heck yeah, we'll do it. So I was like, great, we got 16 cities. And then we opened it up to let other cities do it. And that was Sunday. Monday, we announced it. I called Jamie at Gays Against Grooming. I'm like, Jamie, hey, you want to do this protest? She was like, absolutely. So we pushed a flyer out, not knowing any of the details.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Just
listed
show up.
every city and their exact time, so it was all the same time across the nation.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was
we
one
really mapped it
protest,
out for them.
across the country, 20 cities. And then by Saturday the protest happened and everyone was out there.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you know, there's Eastern Mountain Pacific. Was it all the exact same time universally, or was
Yeah.
it all at
Same
2
time.
or whatever?
Yeah.
It's all the same
All
time.
universal.
Yeah.
So
So
1 o'clock
LA
here,
started at
12
11.
o'clock
Yeah.
there. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
at the same exact time, everybody went online and protested.
coordinated.
You know, some cities had 40 people. I mean, it was such a short time. Everyone was worried. Everyone was like, not anybody's going to show. We didn't have enough time to plan this. I'm like, the point is not to get a lot of people.
Yeah.
The point is to get more cities. And the point is for you to stand there and educate people, pass out our handouts,
Yeah.
educate,
Wake them up.
wake them up. And we weren't there to yell at customers. We weren't there to yell at employees. We were there to just say, hey, look into this.
Why don't you like
That's
burn?
it.
I mean, protesting. Why don't you burn down buildings?
Yeah.
I mean, something, right? Let's get.
Yeah. It was we deemed it a silent protest.
Yeah.
So we actually called it a silent protest. We're like, just have your signage, you know, be respectful, no derogatory, you know,
Yeah,
things on your
that's
sign.
Definitely the one thing I'll say about Seek that I really appreciate. She was very adamant about when we put this out that there are rules. Like we as Mom Army, we have rules. We're not out here to
We're
be
not violent.
Hateful.
jackasses. Like
Yeah.
you're going to do this properly, silently, respect the laws. If you're asked to leave, leave nicely. We're not here to make a scene. We're just here to make a point.
Yeah.
And I loved that.
Yeah.
I loved
And we
that.
did get asked to leave
Well.
us at Scottsdale. So all the protests happened like pretty much, you know, without a problem. Before we could even assemble in front of Balenciaga at Fashion Square, they had 5 Scottsdale police officers standing there waiting. 5. And then they had security
Get
and
those little moms.
Yes.
Yes.
Look
Save
at
the children.
They're like, I got. You guys are like, I got dibs on her.
How intimidating am I?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
May I protest for my children, please?
They were
No?
like,
Okay.
you're not going to do this. And then here's me. I consulted
That
with
is
Brian.
such an infringement of our rights.
Oh, here
you are
it is.
allowed
I
to
researched.
protest.
Yeah, I told me. They go, you can't protest on private property. I said, well, there was a court case that went to the Supreme Court because even though you're private property, you are open to the public. So technically, it's public property. So anyway, so I give the spiel, and he was like, I don't care.
He
You
gets
either
his handcuffs out. Hands behind your back, ma'am.
So it's mall management and the security manager, you know, right
And
at me.
Scottsdale police.
Okay, so I'm picturing this too, by the way. Everyone just be nice and kind. And she's like, I'm not kind. She's the first person arrested.
No, there's a photo of me. We did the walk of shame out of the mall because he was like, you either leave
Oh,
on your
because he was
own.
in a mall.
Yeah. But
that
it was
the
still
issue.
public property because you're open to the public
Right.
technically on the side, you know, in front of the
Yeah.
mall.
Yeah.
In the store is a little different, right? So we're walking out with our signs.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a
I'm
walk
leaving,
of
I'm
shame.
leaving.
We were proud.
Yeah.
It was a walk of pride. We
Yeah.
were like, look at what we're doing, and we made enough of a scene that
Yeah.
people were asking,
Paying
us.
attention.
Yeah.
The
And saying,
employees
like,
were
"Good for
applauding.
you."
Yeah.
Like they're kicking us out for protecting children, and everyone's
Yeah.
like, what?
Couldn't you? So did you protest right outside the mall doors?
Then we went to Nordstrom.
Okay.
Yep.
So we reconvened because some of the
Kick us
protests.
out of Nordstrom.
Yeah. So some of the protests didn't have Balenciaga, so they protested in front of Nordstrom or Bloomingdale's or Neiman Marcus, Saks. Yeah. So we went to, and it was a rainy day that
All the
day.
hoity-toity stores, by the way. That's weird.
So we go to Nordstrom. We
not
decided to be on the side where people were valeting. So we stood there for a little bit, like 15 minutes maybe. We were out there with our signs, and then here comes a posse of mall security and Scottsdale police.
I'm picturing it in slow motion. Dun, dun, dun.
Yes.
Do you know what was funny about that day? And of course, it was that day. They were doing a shop with a cop
Yeah.
type thing.
Yeah.
So,
Like
like,
ton of
all
cops.
of the Scottsdale Police Department
Was on site.
The cop.
Yeah, it's
It was
another
something from
event.
The holidays.
Yeah.
Police
Yeah.
officers, they're just like us.
Yeah.
Like,
So they stopped their
son
shop
is
with the
one.
they
cop.
are. I mean, they are just like us, but it's like, who has to shop with a cop to know that they're human? Like, we already know they're human.
I think they were doing with like foster kids or
Yeah.
something. So it was
Oh,
like,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
It was a whole campaign, but I was like, they stopped their shop with a cop to come mess with the moms with
That
the
is
signs.
so funny.
There were
Excuse
so
me,
many
son.
of
I'll be
them.
right back.
Yeah, hold on, I gotta go arrest this mom here fighting for her children.
So they
Here and back.
escorted us away from there, and we went to the parking garage. And we tried to do an interview with the Gateway Pundit because Jordan was there to cover the story. And we're doing an interview in the garage, and then they come to the garage. Like, you can't do that here either. This is private.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
We got kicked out of 3 places.
Okay, so
I didn't
besides
hear all that.
cops and mall security, and there's little like rolly cart thingy.
He's
Yeah,
on
the
his
Paul
little
Blart.
segue.
Oh,
Besides those people, there wouldn't be counter protesters, right? There was no like counter.
No,
because
we
if
didn't
you
have
go
any.
Protest, whatever. Let's
Yeah.
BLM.
Oh, the
racism.
the
like,
drag shows, we get
drag
counter
shows. There's
protests.
counter protest because apparently that's not inclusive. But there was nobody that disagrees that this is disgusting and vile. What
No, we
people are
didn't
doing
get
to
any
kids.
counter
Yeah.
protests.
Good.
Our
Well,
New York people
yeah.
did. Our New York people had some Antifa show out.
Antifa was in Long Island. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Antifa are pedophiles now.
Yes.
I mean, they're making
Well, they
quite a
ju-
name
no,
for
they
themselves.
Just protect them.
Yeah.
They protect the
They're
pedophiles.
coming out. They're challenging.
Tomorrow's Saturday,
tomorrow's-
tomorrow's protest and Saturday's protest in San Diego. Our group is locking arms with a bunch of groups in
For
San
that
Diego
YMCA.
for the
Oh,
YMCA
yeah, that's right.
incident.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Antifa has already put out a notice that they're going to counter protest that.
Well,
So,
because if you think that men shouldn't be in women's locker rooms, that makes you homophobic,
yeah,
transphobic, and all the things.
yeah,
All the bad things.
yeah.
That's so crazy.
It's been a crazy 5 months, to say the least.
Yeah.
It's not getting any.
No,
We are
It's
far
ramping
from that.
up.
Yeah,
This is
we're like
training.
Yeah,
We're training
yeah.
right
This
now.
is a warm up in the boot camp. We're in a boot camp, but we
This is
can
boot camp.
This is our training wheels.
Yeah.
This is boot camp, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. What?
Well, then that segues to your craziness that you're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
So it's not just the YMCA. I mean, Lindsey's having to deal with.
Yeah, it's the same, like almost the same day. And I actually feel kind of bad because I don't want to detract from the 17-year-old because she's much, much more of a victim than I am. And what she saw is a lot more damaging and traumatizing and illegal, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I think that the stories feed each other. I think that it
Yes.
brings more awareness to the fact that this didn't just happen over here. It happened here too. It happened here too. It's like it's the new bless you.
I'm allergic to that stuff.
It's the allergic to men in men's locker rooms. It brings awareness to it's the new pandemic, women's rights being completely obliterated. So
Absolutely.
I mean, we were talking about what it takes for a man to enter a locker room, and apparently it just takes a quick change of a driver's license. So
Right.
yeah.
And for me, it wasn't even like when I heard your story and the 17-year-old girl. Yeah, she's still a minor, but it's not even women's rights. It's my daughters and my granddaughter. They have a right, and I shouldn't have to fight for that like that. There just should be a common right for my daughters
Common
to feel
decency.
safe
Yeah.
and feel respected. You have your beliefs, do what you want to do, but leave the hell my babies alone. Like, let them stay innocent for a while. Let them decide.
Sure.
I
I think
that's
it's
my
interesting
struggle.
too that she's 17, she's a minor, she's a child in all of our eyes,
Absolutely.
right? And in the law's eyes.
Yeah.
Even she felt it necessary to say, my 5-year-old sister comes here. Like even she made it about the child
younger.
below her, behind her, coming up in this world going, it's almost like she's saying, I can handle myself. Even at 17, she shouldn't have to, right? She shouldn't have to. But even she says, this isn't even about me. It's about the 5-year-old sister that I might bring here that might see that.
Well, because what it is you've got the 5-year-old, the 3-year-old, me with my 18-month-old granddaughter. The things they're going to see and the things they're going to become accustomed to will be what they think is normal.
Yes.
And I am not okay with that.
It's grooming.
Not
It's
okay
grooming.
with that.
Yeah.
And they don't like it when we call it, when we call them groomers. It's just like,
How is it
and it's like
different than that?
we cannot water down definitions of words. It's what they've done
Because
to
it
us.
offends people.
Yeah, they've changed the definition. They're changing the definition of women. They're changing the definition of everything. And we really have to stand firm in the truth, And I think that's really what we're fighting right now is fighting for the truth. Yeah.
When you start saying things like, some like liberals say, sometimes women have penises. It's like, oh, geez, okay.
No, they don't. I mean,
They never actually have penises, ever. They do always have uteruses, but you're normalizing little girls growing up and saying,
Right.
that's a woman. Oh, she just happens to have a penis. It's like you're now telling little girls it's okay to look at them. And now what's next with that?
And you're active,
You're
and even when
eroding.
you're sexualizing them, and when they're of a certain age, and I'm very much into the natural process, like how things are supposed to unfold naturally. And when you bring sexuality into a classroom of 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, you're activating this part of them that is not even supposed to
Not
be
ready.
It's
ready.
just totally not ready.
And,
and you're creating something rather than respecting something. You're planting the
Forcing
seed
it.
of something
Yeah.
rather than making them feel seen for who they potentially could be.
Yeah.
And it's just a complete it's a lie.
Well, and how
That's
disgusting too that like once you do that, once you plant that seed of sexualization, they have to start looking at themselves as a sexual object,
Yes.
which
Exactly.
changes how they present themselves.
How they
And
feel
we've
about
already
themselves,
seen
yeah.
like in the last 10 years going from, I mean, I didn't wear makeup till I was 17. Like I was really delayed, but I think I turned out just fine. I went through some rough years there, but I'm good now. But like now you see 12-year-olds and I'm looking at her going, why is she wearing a crop top and tight jeans?
Oh,
and
no
like
lie.
line dancing at the gym,
No
at the
lie.
bar, and it's 9:00 at night.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, well, if she already sees herself as a sexual object, now next year is it going to be a 7-year-old and then a 6-year-old?
Right.
And
Yeah.
like,
But here's the problem. My twins are, I have 28-year-old daughter and I have 11-year-old twin daughters. And I have an 18-month-old granddaughter. So I got a lot of daughters.
she's like, I'm in this fight.
Yeah, but to just even simply go clothes shopping for my twins, the 11-year-olds, I can't find something that's either not baggy, boyish, crazy weird, or you may as well be a hooker. My dad would have been like, you're not leaving the house. You're not leaving the house.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to shop anymore for my children.
See, I think that's interesting. You just took, like, this is not my world because my daughter is 6. So still just like pink t-shirts with sequins that change colors and like leggings, right?
No, my daughter's 12.
You're
so
saying
we're in
that
the
there's
same
like
boat.
you can either dress like a boy, wink, wink,
Right.
right? Or you can dress like a slut. Like,
Absolutely.
Either way,
That really is
both of
the
those
choices.
address like
Yep.
your sexual identity.
Walk through Target. It's all croppy
Oh,
toppies.
I would never walk through
But
that.
I'm just saying, a Target. Walk through Nordstrom. I take
They're
the
on the
girls.
ban list.
You know, we'll shop. We'll
Name all
walk
the woke
through.
companies real quick.
Yeah, we'll walk through Scottsdale Mall, and there is nothing I can simply find for them unless I'm gonna, go like a full kind of a dress or whatever. But even then, the dresses they're making now, it's like a croppy and,
then
a skirt.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yep.
why do we need to show this? But then what I don't understand, we want to make this normal, but yet 10 years ago, the girls that wore it and got raped, it was like, well, you asked for
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
So now we want our 12-year-olds to dress like hookers, but God forbid, 10 years ago, you were asking to be raped when you're dressed like that.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't
exactly.
understand.
When you go back to what we were talking about, just the exposing children to the sex, we're a survivor-led organization. Like 70% of our leadership in our group are survivors of child sexual abuse, trafficking, other childhood traumas, and domestic violence. And when you talk to people who are survivors, they will tell you exactly how they end up becoming, an easy target and a victim. They were exposed to pornography at 6 years old. They were, told to sit on uncle's lap at
There's a
3 years old.
formula to it.
Yeah.
There's an actual
Yeah.
formula to getting
There's a
to moving
manual.
children along.
Okay, so let's do some activism here.
Okay.
Right? It's not paid.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I'll buy you a coffee.
Yeah. She'll buy you a coffee.
Oh, but according to
not Starbucks.
according to the internet sphere, we're making a ton of
Oh,
money.
that's right. This is
Oh yes, we are
you-
exploiting.
You
yes.
each get $1,000 for being here today. Cut that out. Okay. tell moms what to look for, because as we all know, or maybe they don't know, sex trafficking doesn't look like a man just kidnapping your child. Sex trafficking happens within families and friends. And so tell moms like what to look for, the signs, I don't know, within children or like within other families or within family members that might be grooming.
So I would say number one, know your own vulnerability. Like know your space and how you are vulnerable. Like I'm a single mom. I'm a target. You know, families, broken families, or families of divorced children, they typically have more challenges, and so they're sometimes on their own a little bit more. Home alone, single parent, and so know your vulnerabilities and really kind of assess your life and think about who's in my life, who has access to my children. Do I 100% know where they came from or what they believe?
Is the babysitter bringing her boyfriend over?
Right.
Yeah. Do I know? And if you don't, if you can't answer that question, and it's the same, my activism really began with school and education. I, pulled my kids out of school. I was homeschooling them. I'm a big advocate of empowerment, so prevention is important too. Yes. But when you get to that point, when you're dealing with education or when you're looking at who's in your own life, your own bubble, if you don't have a solid answer to that question, it's your responsibility as a parent to actually know, not to assume, but to actually know. And so I think the first step would just really to do an assessment of your own life, and even myself with my kids on gaming platforms. Those are, and you need to understand
that's huge.
What's going on there, and that's how they're being targeted. So as much as I feel like I'm on it with my children, and we have a rule that they don't engage with or play with people on platforms that we don't know in person. That's a rule we have. We go through, I tell them to grab all their devices, which I'm not a huge fan of, I have to be honest, but I'm really not. But, and being a single mom, when they go to their father's house, they have a completely different experience too. So that makes them vulnerable in ways that I have no attachment to. I don't know what's going on there. It is
scary. You literally let control and go, I hope you're doing your job.
Yeah. It's, and then, the thing is though, it can't just be that. I can't assume that. And so I have to, when they come back to my house, we take a look at their devices, we take a look at who their friends are. I have young kids, 9, 10, and 9, 11, and 13 now, but reapplying the rules and just making sure that you're being consistent with them. So that would be my kind of top tip.
Anything to add there?
I think for me, it's honesty. I don't sugarcoat a lot of things. I mean, granted, I'm not going to expose my kids to something maybe they're not ready to handle, but I absolutely don't sugarcoat. Like when I have a chat with my girls of why they shouldn't be chatting on Roblox with, somebody they don't really know.
Or somebody pretending to be a 13-year-old boy.
Particularly, I will tell them straight out what somebody might be wanting to do, why they might do it. Somebody might this, somebody might that. And I always make sure that they're, I teach the suicide prevention a lot. So we talk a lot about that sort of stuff. And I don't hide anything really. I am straight. And if they're, I don't want to say a little scared, they should be a little scared.
Yeah. It's a scary
They
world.
really should be a little scared.
They shouldn't have, as much as we would love for them to be innocent, there's levels of innocence that are going to harm them.
Right.
Like, when I was a little girl, my mother used to laugh and say, oh, she'll talk to anyone. Oh, she's friends with everyone. She'll go with anyone. I'm like, well, now that would be terrifying. If my daughter was like, she'll talk to anyone. It's like, no, you will stay handcuffed to me the entire time we're in Walmart.
And that's the thing, knowing your vulnerabilities, knowing what your kids would do in a situation.
Yeah, I want them to be normal. I want them to spend the night at friends. I want friends to come over, all of that stuff. But again, knowing the parents, knowing this, knowing who's around without being... You don't want to be too over the top.
Right.
I don't want to smother them. I mean, the way I see it, if I educate my kids well and I empower my kids and I teach them, they're going to make good choices.
Yeah.
So when they're at their friend's house, I don't have control. A lot of their friends have TikTok. I am floored, but that's not for me to judge.
Right.
But my daughters know better.
Yeah.
I say, hey, when they start bringing it out and doing this, you need to just redirect. Right. Like, hey, let's do something else.
You know what? You're the parent. So if you send your kid over to a sleepover with Brandon and Brandon is on TikTok all night and your son comes home telling stories about TikTok, you're like, guess what? You're not
can't go to
Brandon anymore. I'm a mom. Sorry. Like you have to protect him at all costs. Even if it means being the bad guy.
Yeah.
And we live in a society, like I seriously have crazy people on my Instagram when I do my kid quiz. Like, hey, what's the last Disney movie you watched? And my kids would say, we don't watch Disney. Well, why not? because it's naughty. Okay, that's all I've taught them, right? It's naughty.
Yeah.
You've indoctrinated your child. If they don't know what's good for them, if they don't have free will, they're never gonna. I'm like, you literally think my 6-year-old can make her own decisions?
No.
Yeah.
And you do. You think she can change
My
your
12-year-old could barely tell me
You
what
think
she
I
wants
don't
for
have control
dinner.
over my house?
I
do.
know.
It's your role.
Yeah.
It's your role to
Yeah.
say
Well,
what
you know,
they
to-
see, what they hear.
To go, to talk about the gaming thing. So part of
That is-
how
I think that's a big one. We should touch on that.
I will touch on that because I have a personal thing. When part of the reason why I started Mom Army was from a personal experience. So my activism in fighting child sex trafficking, my daughter who's 12 was born into my activism. She went to all the protests with me in her little tutu.
She got arrested with me.
Yeah. She's been to the gala fundraiser. I mean, everything, and everything age appropriate, of course.
Yeah.
She didn't know a lot of the stuff early on, but to say all of that is to think, okay, I'm in a household that's very educated about these issues, especially trafficking of children. We moved to Arizona a year and a half ago, so this was not 2021 summer. She's on her gaming app and everything, and she knows this. Don't talk to us, all the things everybody here has just mentioned. We find out that I get a screenshot from one of her friends' mom and going, do you see what our kids are doing? And it was riddled. Clearly, they were pedophiles that were on the app with our daughters. I mean, the vile language and everything.
No.
Yes. And I freaked out, right? And I go to my husband and we take the phone. We do all the things. We had just moved here. We were actually staying in an Airbnb before we even found our house. But we sat her down and we're like, how could this happen? How
Did she see the messages, or were they just like
yes,
messages on?
she could see it, and her response was LOL, like a normal 12-year-old, 10-year-old at the time. LOL, she doesn't know how to.
I'm dying. You should blank my blankety blank blank
Yeah.
your little blank. LOL.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do.
Because he's like, that's not the reaction I wanted.
right? And it's so anyway, so we went through the whole process of taking the phone, talking to her, explaining to her like how dangerous this is and all the other stuff.
Right.
And it was devastating because she was just like, didn't know what to do, how to respond. Took the phone away from her. She has her phone back now. We've set every parental restrictions imaginable. She can't download apps. She can't go on the internet. She can't do it. But that's her phone. But again, she has friends at school who has phones and has access to stuff. But she's come to terms with why this is necessary. She understands now. And now she crochets. She does art. She's just a 12-year-old. She sleeps with her teddy bears.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep her as innocent as long as
You
possible.
should, yes.
She loves spending time with her brothers. I will call her. And I'm like, Dylan, where's your phone? Oh, it's in my room charging. Like, it's not attached to her anymore.
Right. That's
She's
so good.
removed the attachment of the phone since this whole incident has happened. And she's found, like, hobbies that, like, brightens up her day and,
Real life.
Real life.
Real
Yes.
life.
Doing tangible things with her hands. So
Yeah.
that has been our experience. And that was one of the catalysts for starting Mom Army because I wanted to dive into the prevention side of this. I was like, oh, my God, if this happens in my household and I'm a activist and I know this stuff. What happens to
Absolutely.
families who don't talk about these things?
Parents need to like stop what they're doing right now and look at that, because even though you caught it, unfortunately you didn't. Like, your daughter already saw those words. Like, that's it. It's over.
It's
and
there.
so if this can prevent anyone from their child seeing sex talk, porn talk, disgusting, vile, descriptive language that they shouldn't be seeing, once they see it,
You can't erase
that's it. They know that word. And then they're going to say, Mommy, what does this mean? But so get on your kids' if they have phones or iPads or whatever they have, get on them and start going through what are they seeing? Like, my kid plays this weird home decor app, right? Where you take a couch, you pick which couch goes where.
Fantastic.
It's like something weird that he got because
It's gonna be a Jess.
He can come on a job
yeah,
site
she's
with
like,
me if you
that's
want.
so Trigger, you should put that couch there. But like we let him do like the math ones,
was my daughter.
on my iPad.
Yeah.
So I know it's on there. And then he's like, can I play this game? Sure. Well, sure enough, I saw that like another player can message him.
Yep.
And so I'm like, give me that right now. Oh yeah, that's not happening. Like, it's a home decor.
Yeah, we
app.
joke now.
I mean, there's
my husband and I'm like,
any way they
she
can get
can't
to
have
them.
social
Yeah.
media till she's married. Kidding, not kidding.
No.
Yeah.
Literally.
There's no need for it.
Yeah.
there really is there's no need for little children.
Yeah.
We did just fine and we didn't have it.
Yeah,
So,
I
my
agree.
sons. I have two older sons, a 24-year-old and a 19-year-old, and I scared them from having social media. When he was 14, he's like, Mom, I want Facebook. And I'm like, okay, let's sit down for 2 hours. Let's talk about how to use it properly. And let's talk about how it's going to be online forever. And you might not get a job.
It's a blessing to not grow up with that.
So I did it to my oldest. He could care less about social media. He's struggling with social media because he has a business to run now, and he has a book that he just launched. So he's like getting, I have to make a post, and he hates it, right? But it's because very early on we were like, these are the parameters of using social media and how it can harm you and what it's good for. Look, social media does great things. We built a mom army through social media. So you can do good things with social media, but there's some terrible things.
I want to say this too. Protect like your own phones, like passwords and your computers. A few months ago, I had my laptop open in my office and got up to go do something and came back. And my Facebook Messenger, someone had messaged me a lovely, lovely video that I did not want. Not a friend. Of course, like anyone can message you, right?
Yeah.
So there on my computer, this video just popped up and started playing. And I went, ah! And I like clicked it off. And the thought occurred to me, like my daughter could walk into the office and she could have, and she would see it. And she would say, what's that? And what's happening there?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is so terrifying. And now every time I leave my office, I shut my laptop because I know that she can't open it back up without my password.
Right.
Same with my iPhone. I will be, scrolling Instagram, looking at news things, and it's like, even the wording in the news, there's certain words I don't want my kids to say. What does that mean? Well, you don't need to know what trans means. You really don't.
Right.
Because it's not real. And I shut my phone, or I don't let them sit by me while I'm scrolling because you never know what's going to come. It's like you got to protect your own world too, so that they don't just haphazardly see.
Right.
Well,
especially as activists,
see,
we're looking at this stuff.
It's in the house.
So that we can act against it.
Phone
I think it's even
Yeah.
a little more than that. Like, I don't even, a little more now than no, but I don't, like keeping booze in the house with my bigger kids. Things, I think perception is huge. So I don't want to let my kids see me sitting there scrolling Instagram for an hour and a half on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Not that I typically do, but sometimes we get sucked in.
Yeah.
Hey,
you know what?
with our business.
I don't have social media platforms.
I always
But
do. I'm
yeah.
like, I don't want to live on Instagram.
I know, right? But with business, you're like, dang it. But yeah, I think it's more perception in that regard. Like, we don't allow them at the dinner table. We don't, I don't want to, if I'm out at dinner at a restaurant, it's like, no, like we're not having our phones out. If in the car, you're not popping on headphones and doing what you do. I mean, besides maybe a road trip, they can watch a movie because otherwise they'll fight because they can't agree on the same movie.
Devices have made moms' lives easier.
Easier,
They really
yes.
have.
Yeah.
But I
But
will
you
say,
have to respect it.
Yep, my kids do not have their own iPads. They
Yep.
don't have their own phones. They don't watch movies in the car.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, it would make my life easier. Yes, there probably will come times, like when we're going on a long road trip, where I'm going to give in.
Yeah.
But it cannot be a lifestyle, or else
Agreed.
we just
Can't be consumed
the
by
kid,
it.
the humans of today won't look like us. I mean, they won't have relationships. They
Wall-E.
They can't even do like eye contact.
Yeah.
Be Wall-E.
Well, if you hand, and this is the thing, and I have a long history with technology. I'm very adverse to it, and because I've actually gone like zero, and I see a huge difference in my children. I've had that ability. They have that over at their dad's house, but so the thing that I realized though is, with the more you immerse yourself in technology, the more you're actually handing your children over to somebody else.
Yeah.
Because they are after our eyeballs. I mean, advertising is a major thing. I never understood how you made money off of advertising as a kid. I remember asking these questions, like, how do they make so much money off advertising? And it's because your eyeballs are so valuable. Like, they want eyes, and
Your attention,
they
the
want
captive
kids'
audience.
eyes now.
Well, it's more dangerous, than that is because the trafficking is taking place online. They no longer have to get in a van and snatch somebody. They can just, I mean, there's horror stories. I remember reading one story where a kid was getting into a fight with the mom, and then she posted online that she was upset or whatever in her status, and then somebody comes in, ding, that's
my girl.
Goes into the DM and go, oh, I'm so sorry, and starts.
But see, that's where I have a small problem. I feel like in a situation like that, there's already an issue in that home. Because my daughter could be furious and pissed and maybe she would damn well know better. She's not leaving mama. I mean, I just have taught them. It's not going to happen. So there's already something happening where either the parent isn't involved or isn't participating enough or isn't giving what that child needs. So I think if we start there, it will really change how these pedophiles or people affect our kids. Great, target them. My kid's gonna middle finger your ass. Period. Because they know. Absolutely.
My kid's named Trigger. Go ahead.
Yes.
My daughter does this stare at people where it's just like she just rips you down to nothing. Like it's just
I mean, it's all about
my
education.
mom's the general in the long run. You better not touch me.
My husband tells the story of them going to a restaurant and she was ordering something and he said something to her that she just looks at him with like, and my husband's like, oh my God, like they're I think we're doing okay with her.
I gotta tell a story that's gonna I actually don't know if I've ever told this story publicly before, but I think it goes into what we're saying, which is parents be present and be active in your children's lives and teach them so that they can discern for themselves, right? Well, my parents did. And it was always, don't talk to strangers without us nearby. Don't get in anyone's car. If someone tries to get you to have candy, all the things. Don't take candy from strangers. I was in San Francisco with my mom. Her brother had died. We were there for his funeral. I was, I think, maybe 10. And I had left something in the car. Now, my mother should have never let me go out to the car in San Francisco, but it was literally go out the door, cross the sidewalk, get in the car, come back up.
Yeah.
In the moment that I went to the car, what must be a mentally ill woman in her 80s, she had short, white, permed hair, came up to the car and started talking to me about my braces. And I just got this weird, why are you asking about my braces? Oh, they're so pretty. And did they hurt your gums? I'm like, no. And I was thinking, this is a stranger. Why is she talking to me? I'm supposed to be,
your gut's talking
I'm thinking,
to you.
And she puts her hand out. And says, take my hand. And I looked at her and I said, why? And she goes, I want to rape you. I'm not joking. And I went, I'm like 10 years old. She said,
the word means
she said, I want to rape you. I don't even know if I did.
Yeah. Oh my
All I
God.
knew was this is not good.
This is a no.
I backed away, shut the door. I ran up the stairs, started screaming. And this is awesome. You're going to love the ending to this story. My other brother, my other mom's brother, my uncle that was there, he's a 80s rocker, long hair, don't mess with me.
Yeah.
Toxic masculinity. He said, let's go find her. And we marched down the streets of San Francisco and we found this little old lady. And you guys are going to find out why I'm the Patriot Barbie right now. He put her up against a wall and said, did you talk to this girl? And she said, no. And that was the story for so many questions. And then she said, well, I just said that her braces looked nice. And he said, is there anything you want to say to this woman, Lindsey? 10 years old, you guys. I'm not kidding. I walked up to her and I said, don't you ever touch me again. And I slapped her. Oh my God. I don't know where that came from. I'm like the nicest 10-year-old ever. But I was like, she didn't even touch me, which is the best, because later I was like, she didn't touch me. But don't you ever touch me again. I slapped her, we walked away. I don't know why we didn't call the cops. We should have.
Right.
Yeah. She went up to a halfway house and she said, I live here. And then the people are like, no, she doesn't.
Oh, God.
But my parents taught me, a little old lady, she should be sweet and cute, and I should have been kind to her. And I was like, you're weird. You're talking to me, you're a stranger.
Intuition.
I teach my girls, we'll be at the store and they're like, oh, wait, you want to go 2 aisles to the toy? Okay, you have your phones? Yep. Stay together. That's the rule, right? Okay. And I always, every single time I tell them the same. If it's a store worker and they're like, hey, come with me, it's a no. If it's a police officer and he's like, hey, come with me, it's no. Call my mommy right now. Yep. It's a no. Yep. You do not ever leave with a cop, with a store worker, with anybody. You can stand your ground and say, I'm calling my mom right now. I'm calling my dad right now. Or I said, you know what? If they're like, oh, but your mommy's hurt and she can't answer her phone. You say, you know what? I respect you, police officer. I'm going to call 911 and just verify this really quick. And
We've
then
got to teach our kids
and then
to be
and then we'll
strong on
talk.
that. Strong like that.
Absolutely never leave.
The
And my
best thing we
son
can
will
do-
solidify that with them continually.
And he's
And
a cop,
and
yeah.
he's a police officer.
Yep.
So he's like, absolutely. Like if I have a little kid and they're like putting rules down, like I'm not forcing them.
Well,
I'll be
that's
like,
the thing too. Is
absolutely.
you can teach them. A cop would never,
Absolutely.
ever force you. They
You
would
hope.
say, "Yes, please call your mommy yourself. Here's my phone.
Yes.
Call 911."
Yes.
Like a cop wouldn't say, "Oh no, don't call mommy. Let me
Right.
just handle it."
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I tell my kids this one sentence, and I think that it's a really good way to filter out good versus bad.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a child and you're with an adult and you're uncomfortable, if you tell them this is making me uncomfortable and they continue that behavior,
They're bad.
they're bad.
They're
Yep.
bad.
If
Yep.
you say if no good parent, no good adult
Right.
around a child, if a child said, you are making me uncomfortable,
I would run.
you would say, oh, well, that's really bad. Let's fix this like right away. Because I
Yeah.
would never want to make a child
Exactly.
feel uncomfortable.
Right.
So
Yes.
I think that that's a really good
That is
statement.
really good.
And a
Yeah.
kid can remember that.
Yeah.
And then if they don't get the response that they need from that, then
Then
I'm
you know,
like,
that's
get
your
out.
proof.
Just
That's
get out.
your
You
proof.
don't need
Yeah.
to do this conversation like anymore. Like
Yeah.
just get out of it.
You don't owe anybody anything.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. That's good.
So next time I see Paul Bixler in the women's locker room, I'm
You're
gonna
making
say,
me
"You're
uncomfortable."
making me uncomfortable.
Keep me up.
And if he doesn't leave, which he won't, because he's a woman, and he's a bad guy. So can you tell people like how to follow Mom Army, how to support like the movement? And
Well, we have a website, mom-army.com, mom-army.com, and you can go there and we're working on updating some stuff.
Making it fun.
Making it fun.
Keep
This
it here.
our web designer, Susie. That's her other hat.
That's right.
I have a full-time job. I manage websites. I'm an activist. I'm a daughter of a cop. I'm an activist.
5 kids. I'm a grandma.
Yeah.
I write plays.
We're mostly on Instagram for social media, so it's the.momarmy, and then we have the dad army that's forming as we're talking. We started a Twitter. We have 2 incredible, our San Diego chapter battalion captain. We call them battalions. Harmony and Heather in Dallas are running our Twitter, and that is Mom Army US. That's our
I
Twitter
hate having
handle.
all these different handles.
I
And Twitter is
know.
evil. They're like, you can only have 8 characters. I'm like,
I
I
know.
can't do what I need to do in 8 characters.
Terrible. But that's where you can find us and get involved. I mean, right now we're forming the chapters. We're building the leadership to kind of get the foundation set up, and then eventually we're setting up meetups. A lot of our chapters across the country are doing meetups this month, in-person meetups, and then we're gonna start getting people involved and getting people activated.
Love it. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much for
Thank
Oh my
you.
God, so
Yes.
much. Thank you.
Thanks for empowering and
Thanks for supporting
we're gonna
us
save
from
a lot of
day
kids.
one.
We're gonna
Yeah.
save a lot of kids. That's right.
Yes.
All right, ladies, ready for your cheers?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, cheers to
Stopping the war on children.
Thanks for tuning in to the Patriot Barbie podcast. Follow me on Truth Social at the Patriot Barbie and Instagram at the.patriot.barbie. Subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with your friends. You can find this show, my book Targeted, and my apparel line on www.patriotbarbie.com. God bless America and God bless you.